Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by Cloudberry, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at cloudberrylab.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 33. Fun show today. I've got Bob Coppedge in the interview. It went a little long. It's like around 40 minutes, but really entertaining. Great guy. Drops a lot of really great information for everyone out there. So I really hope you enjoy the interview. So we're going to cut short the best of Reddit today a little bit, so the episode's not too terribly long. But I do have a couple of things I want to get to. First, again, mspvoice.com is your source for all things MSP Voice. Also, we are now introducing guest content. So you may remember H. Michael Wayland from episode number 5. He has now actually written an article for us on the blog here, talking about using chambers like chambers of commerce and those types of things to help you grow your profitability and to get leads and those types of things. So definitely check the article out and take a read. If you want to be a guest contributor on mspvoice.com, just let us know. Not an issue. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get to just a couple of Reddit articles today. This one I think is interesting just because there's some good information here, but also if anybody else wants to help this guy out, just let us know. You can comment on this article. But basically, this person is considering transitioning from fixt to MSP once he gets his new practice set up, currently working alone. What do you recommend I get good at? So a lot of question there just in the title. But basically, he kind of wants to start an MSP business. He's doing some fix now. I think in his part-time, those types of things. So, what do you recommend? And, a lot of people have contributed a lot of great information, right? So there's a huge difference between fix, residential and business MSP. You need to master providing reliable solutions and processes that keep the client running smoothly. So you're not cleaning viruses off desktop, but blocking them from coming in and making sure everything is secure so they don't get hacked. So that's just some advice there from Justin M001. And there's a lot more really good advice here. Learning scripting and automation. With PowerShell and those types of things. And some really good different types of stuff here. A big regret of mine was starting my MSP without working for a successful one first. So I think that's really good advice. So before you maybe jump out and think, hey, I'm going to do this MSP thing, if you've never worked for a successful MSP, then there may be a lot of things you don't know. So maybe go to work for one first. Learn, understand the processes and those types of things. It might make it easier to break it out on your own and get you some invaluable experience. So that's another comment. And someone here says, if I was starting over from scratch, that's the best time to start full MSP, that you don't have to try and convert your existing customers. But unfortunately, it sounds like you already have some fix, so you might have to convert those. But anyway, lots of great advice. Get a lawyer. That's another good one here. So definitely check this post out. Links in the show notes. If you got some advice for this person, let them know. Next up is, I think, just another really good practical advice for MSPs out there. And this person said they hired a dispatch documentation person, and it was their best idea ever, their best decision ever. So basically, they hired someone to help triage, the techs in the field, making sure everyone was where they're supposed to be, making sure that the documentation was up to date when the techs were done with the project and those types of things. Says it's only been 2 weeks, but already it's just been immensely helpful. It's freed his time up and those types of things. So, definitely not a bad idea to have someone out there just to kind of, keeps all your ducks in a row. Making sure that everyone is where they're supposed to be, and can answer some basic, simple, quick questions if somebody calls in and needs some help. So, some others talk about the fact that, they like having a more technical dispatcher, so that way they can handle some tickets. This person here said that the lady they hired, she has administrative experience, but it's not really all that technical. But after a week of training and 2 weeks on the job, she's actually getting pretty good at some stuff. So, whether or not you hire someone technical or not, that's kind of a debate in here, but definitely, just having someone, even if you just have if it's just you and one other tech or two other techs, having someone just always at the office or, who can answer the phone, make sure everything is running smoothly, I think is a great idea. And some of you, it may be your spouse to be able to do that. But definitely, again, check this out. If you don't have someone that's handling that for you now, take a read on this post, get some advice, and then maybe go out there and try and do it yourself. Okay, so that is our quick best of Reddit and commercial for MSPvoice.com. Now we're going to go into the interview. Again, this one runs about 40 minutes, so it is a little bit longer, but it's worth it. Bob is a great guy, had a lot of fun doing this one, so thanks, and I'll talk to you again next week. Hello and welcome. Today I am pleased to be joined by Bob Coppedge with Simplex IT out of the Northeast Ohio area. Bob, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Bob Coppedge, an MSP from the Northeast Ohio area. I'm an obnoxious, condescending man, and we're starting off on the right foot with that.
No problem. Has anyone ever told you sound like John Goodman?
I as I get older, I hear that. When I was much younger, I got a lot of comparisons to George Carlin.
Oh, okay.
And then as I got wider and older, now I get the John Goodman thing, and I guess he's lost a lot of weight, so I don't know where I'm going next.
Well, I was just basing it off your voice, from the sound. It wasn't anything on the looks, but it definitely, when I was watching some of your YouTube videos, I'm like, wow, he sounds a lot like John Goodman.
Well, you'll probably hear from his attorneys.
I hope not.
No.
So tell us a little bit about Simplex IT and your business up there.
Sure. Simplex IT, we're basically a pure managed service provider, MSP. Been around for about 11 years. My former lives, whatever, I've been IT director, CIO, consultant for about 20 or 30 companies. And so I didn't do the break fix and then do the transition. In 2007, basically was an MSP from the beginning. We've completely bootstrapped, so there's been no investment. I'm the sole owner, whatever. We're up to about, I think, 13 full-time, about 4 part-time employees, and we've been pretty lucky and pretty successful. So It's worked out well for us.
So yeah, you didn't do break fix, but do you still have people coming to you and say, "Hey, can you fix my computer? I don't really want your managed service." Or
yeah, but I don't do those are relatives, who come to me. No, it's honestly, it's one of those where does it happen? Yeah, very, very rarely. Everything we look at is either managed services or is that a door or a foot in the door getting in for managed services. That's it. So, and I'm pretty open on a lot of our numbers and metrics. So we're at the point now where about 75% of our revenue comes from that monthly recurring agreement. Now that includes stuff like 365, Azure, AWS and the like, but it's that we expect to get something similar, if not more so, next month. And of that 27% or so remaining, probably 90% of that is additional purchases or projects from those companies who already have monthly recurring. So yeah, and we basically go, if you want break fix from us, I'll tell you, we will do it, but we will be ridiculously expensive and not as attentive. And let me give you all the reasons why we would not do a good job. Let me show you to these people. Or we've also done it where we've run into a couple of situations where we've taken project work, include a monitoring contract with that project work we'll give you a discount if you let us monitor your network. And then at the end of it, turn that into a monitoring, if not more, contract with the idea of, hey, and if you want to cancel it, you can cancel it, no problem. And we've had very few people cancel that after that.
Great.
So,
yeah, so a great way to take project work and turn it into some monthly recurring revenue.
Right.
So, now, I was reading your bio on your website, and one of
those charges were never proven. Just saying.
Yeah. So besides the fact that you did a long stint with an improv group, one of the other things I noticed. Hey, it's on there.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah, one of the other things I noticed was that you said you're focusing on working, instead of working in the business, you're focusing on working on the business. So I guess I took that to mean, instead of trying to, be out there and doing the work that other people should be doing, you've got a team for that now, that you're really focusing on the business and making sure that your people are successful. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. And that doesn't happen by accident. So one of the things, and if I am not what you would call organized from the standpoint of I don't have this bullet list and these are the specifics and all that. That said, I'm goal driven from the standpoint of I want to have those 3 or 4 goals that these are important to me this year. Okay. You know, if you get too many of them, you won't reach them. And one of my goals is always, what do I want to do less of by the end of the year? So what part of that, and I get back to if there's someone else I can pay to do that, I want to do it that way, because the alternative is if I'm still that one person who does this thing, I can't be doing the bigger things from the company standpoint, or I will become a bottleneck because I'm the only one who can do it. And both those things scare the bejeebers out of me. So I right now spend maybe 10% of my time on the tech side. Okay. And everyone here is grateful, you know, because, and with some legitimacy, I'm not the tech I used to be. And I'm assuming that I used to be good. But there's no question my skills aren't as sharp and all that. I'm a much better businessman, famous last words. And that's on purpose, that I want to go that route. I don't spend anywhere near as much time on marketing as I did. And one of my goals right now, we hired our I shouldn't say first full-time, we hired our first full-time salesperson since we kind of reorganized about 4 or 5 years ago. And one of my goals is by the end of this year, and this is one of our specific goals for the organization, is I will be spending a lot less time actually in the sales process. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah,
no, that's great. And I know, a lot of the MSPs I talk to and a lot of MSPs out there, sometimes they're sole proprietors, they do everything themselves. They don't have a staff, and it's that goal to get there, to be able to hire people to kind of let them take care of the day to day, and you can focus on growing the business in terms of whatever that may be.
Right.
Yeah, definite good goals to have. So in terms of customers, what types of do you guys specialize in any vertical, or you just hey, whoever needs IT help, or we're going to help them, or
there's that whole growth pattern. From an organizational standpoint, at first I like to eat, I'll take anyone's money. Yeah. And you have to go that route. But then after a while you get to, we're eating well enough. Now it's almost like, the levels of air, then water, then food, and all that kind of fun stuff. We don't have a vertical. We probably are about a third in the manufacturing side. Yeah. But we've also got municipalities, law enforcement, safety forces, nonprofits, service, financial, insurance, all over the place. The key thing that I look for is, does the customer understand the value of having good IT? Yeah. As in, their business will be more productive, more profitable, all that kind of fun stuff, because then they're going to understand the value of what we do and what we bring. Got it. If not, it's going to be a price comparison, and we will never win on price. We never will. Yeah, and that's fine with me.
And that kind of brings me to the next point. I noticed that you've written a book, a CEO's Survival Guide to Information Technology.
Yes, please don't read it. It's really a letdown once you read it.
Okay.
No. Yeah,
I won't. I won't link to it in the show notes on Amazon. No, it's okay.
Okay, good. Because if I was smart, I'd have a copy to wave it right now, going, "This book should not." No. The reason I wrote the book was, one is it's a differentiator. When you're talking to another MSP, I can go, "I wrote this book, did they?" But the other was, and what makes it, I would like to think, a unique book is, I think there are a lot of CEOs out there, and in fact, we hear two things that tell me these are music to my ear statements from management or potential customer management. One is, it shouldn't be this hard. And the second is, it should just work. And those are usually for managers or management ownership, whatever you want to call it, who have abdicated IT. They've basically, I don't want to know about it, just go ahead and run it and all that. And geeks on our part, we'll just go ahead and do it. And my point, my reason for writing the book is, there's a lot of aspects of technologies that management needs to know and understand. You have to accept responsibility. You really, to leave it to the geeks is a bad idea. The poster child I use for that is frequency of backups. We get back into that, what's the cost of downtime to your business? Yeah. I have no clue. I have no freaking idea, and neither does any other geek, nor does any other MSP, nor does any other tech.
Yeah.
The people who know are management, and if they can't answer that question, then how can the technology that we're supposed to implement the solutions? How can we know what the frequency should be? And I don't want to harp too much on that particular point, but there's a lot more where that came from when you talk about BYOD, what's our refresh rate for technology, all of that kind of fun. So I wrote that book as A, the differentiator, but B, to offer, here's the stuff as a CEO you need to be more worried about.
Okay.
You can't just let the geek do it. So,
like I said, it's you need to be able to kind of build that bridge between the two so that everyone is essentially on the same cadence.
right.
In terms of this is important for the business. This is what we need to do. From the management perspective, and then the IT side is okay. How are we going to use technology to achieve those goals?
Right.
So that everyone's basically on the same page with how the business is going. So,
yep.
Great advice on that. I'm glad you wrote a book on it. So,
and actually, I will also say my second book will be coming out in theory should be April and May.
Great. Now, what's that one's going to focus on?
That one's actually written for MSPs.
Oh, okay.
Is we have had a lot of success. We had our largest revenue growth last year in terms of percentage last year, and a big reason was on co-managed IT, selling to companies that already have an IT organization, IT support for some reason, and they actually like them, so they want to keep them. How can we build an actual managed service relationship with those companies? And I actually spoke on it at one of Robin Robbins' producer club meetings last year. And then I also did a speech led a workshop at IT Nation, and got a lot of positive feedback from MSPs about, in some cases it was like, wow, I was doing that, but I had no idea I was doing that. Or, yeah, we never know how to work with that. And it actually is, in my opinion, from an MSP. And by the way, if anyone's listening from Northeast Ohio, please stop listening. This is totally, I'm making all this up.
We'll try to block it from Northeast Ohio.
That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
Anything over 70, you don't get it.
Yeah. But there are ways to, and we've done this. We've done this fairly successfully. That we've been able to work with the existing IT departments and basically bring them in to use our tool sets to do their job, and we'll do our job in a very cooperative way. And it's a blue ocean area. There just isn't anybody going after that right now from an MSP standpoint.
Yeah, because most of the people I talk to, they're going after small businesses that don't have IT.
Right.
And, they're like, hey, but the opportunity to augment an existing IT shop, existing IT department, with a set of services so that it's not like you're coming in to take over their job, but you're coming in to help them do their job better.
Exactly.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
And that's got to be the key thing. That is the key thing right there. I'm not here to take over your job. I'm here to make your job better.
Yeah.
And we found where in some cases we're able to go in, and especially this works well in the manufacturing world where you see a lot of the internal IT resource where they just grew into this job with no formal training, no expectation. They got the job because they had more than one computer at home.
Yeah.
and in manufacturing, you, at least in a lot of them, you have this, what we call the mantra is, if it turned on, it's not obsolete, mentality. And these people are just thrown into that position, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. And for us to come in and throw them a lifeline and say, hey, we'll actually back you up, and help you and all that. We've had, it ends up where they end up being our biggest fans.
Oh, that is great. So again, I'm looking forward to that book, and I'll keep an eye out for it. So, understanding, you started this about 11 years ago. You jumped right in. You did MSP. You didn't do break fix first. What kind of advice do you have for someone who's looking to get started in services, in managed services?
First of all, don't listen to me. It's one of those where just don't get either overwrought or overexcited about whatever the soup du jour is. I remember and again, I've been in IT since around 1980. So I'm freaking old. And oh my God, every single freaking revolution, this changes everything, this change, when we first started doing the managed services, the first thing that was changing everything, this is a game changer, was the whole virtualization. Everyone's doing a virtualization. We're going to bring in, we're going to refresh your hardware, go to virtualization. That's the biggest thing. If you're not doing virtualization, you're going out of business, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we've got to do virtualization. All right. 3 or 4 years later, oh my God, it's the cloud. Everybody's doing, you don't do the cloud. Oh my God, it's now it's cybersecurity. If you're not doing cybersecurity, and the problem is, every one of those insights, every one of those focuses are legitimate. They are absolutely legitimate, and certainly cybersecurity is one as well. But they're also temporary, because after about 3 or 4 years, of course you do that as a competency. Why wouldn't you? Next slide, please. And so if you have an MSP, for example, that is, I'm going to focus, and this is where I think the MSSPs are going to be interesting to see what ends up happening, because an MSP who hangs their hat entirely on one attribute of managed services is going to do absolutely freaking fantastic while that attribute is the hot, sexy thing. But the next one's around the corner. And so to the MSP who's just starting out, you're like, oh God, does that mean that? Yes, there's a next thing. There's always going to be a next thing. If you're looking for something for technology to be stable, you are born in the wrong century, and it's going to get worse, not better. But whatever angst you're feeling about this high rate of delta, your clients are feeling it 10 times worse. So there is that opportunity to be that Sherpa, that guide to your customers, as long as you're willing to, and when you look at management, especially as management development, one of the terms is let go of the vine. When you swing from one vine to another, that's the grabbing onto the new one's great, but you got to let go of the first one, or else it's going to be awkward. And at you've got to be part of your resource, part of your day has to be what's coming next. And it has to be embracing that, because your competition is certainly, and so are your customers. You hate those customer conversations where they say, hey, should we be doing this? And you're like, well, that's a complicated question, which is your way of saying, I don't know what this is. So maybe, I don't know, let's buy 2. But it's, and it also is one where we are getting more and more into, the whole customer satisfaction thing. And this is on every industry, everywhere. Customer satisfaction, there are so many ways to measure that, so many ways to deliver that, so many ways to look at that, and to be held hostage by it. It is the thing. One of I'll tell you our secret sauce. We're the cool guys. That's the term we use, and I have no problem sharing that. We don't do long-term contracts. We do, like you said, we've got about 180 or so YouTube videos. We do a lot of events. We're doing one next week with Microsoft, where we're talking about new stuff coming out and stuff that's being, both the new Microsoft 365, Office 365, and Azure stuff, as well as what's being retired. And I have no problem during this event telling people what sucks. What's not good will be absolutely legitimate. We do all these things. We give all our portals, our customers access to the portals. We basically, we don't hide. We make everything as transparent as possible. The reason why is because a lot of IT people actually are the stereotypical jerks. The condescending, I know better than you do, talk down, all of that. And this has worked well for us. By paying a very, very ridiculously strict attention to how's the experience for the customer. Are we perfect? No. But that's where we focus on.
And that you said customer satisfaction. I actually just read an article earlier this week that yes, customer satisfaction is one score, but another score that a lot of people are using now is customer experience. What's the customer experience, not just the satisfaction? Like, how easy is it for them to get to your support team? Do they have to search and do all this type of stuff, or obviously then in software, you've got UI and those types of things, but it's really what's that customer's journey, what's their experience in working with you, and is it easy or is it difficult?
Well, and the odd thing is, and actually there's a term called the experience economy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting. And the best metaphor I've seen is gumball machines.
Okay.
When I grew up, you put a penny in, you cranked, it gave you a piece of gum that probably was older than I am now. Okay. That was, and the entire process was simply to get a piece of gum. That was it.
Yeah.
Now, if you see a gumball machine anywhere, they have these convoluted where the delivery of that product, that's what the kid put the money in for.
Yeah, because they got the spirals.
Exactly.
Fancy stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've got because I do a lot of speaking engagements and the like, and it's one of my favorite slides is one where this kid is just sitting mesmerized in front of this huge, takes up half a wall, gumball. The kid doesn't want gum. He wants to see the gum move around. And there's a lot of cases where it's the experience of that customer. Now, nobody wants to, spend 20 minutes on a hold waiting for a technical, support while hearing gum moving around or anything along those lines. But the experience environment is also about what's I don't want to say the entertainment because that makes it too silly.
Yeah.
But knowing what the other customers want, and in some cases, it gets back to the studies they did with chimpanzees where they had two chimps or two fake chimps. One had fur and the other one was a one made out of chicken wire, but it had milk where the nipples were. So the baby chimp could go and get food versus the other one could go and get warm. Every baby chimp went for the warmth, because they wanted that experience of being warm instead of what they actually needed was the sustenance.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, dumb as this sounds, if someone, and this is not an admission of guilt from our standpoint, but if someone has a bad experience in terms of a product delivery, if they otherwise enjoy the relationship with the person who's delivering the product, they're going to be a lot more forgiving about the problem or the challenge. Now, in no way, shape, or form does that mean we have really lousy techs, but they'll treat you nice. But it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because we tolerate difficulty a lot more easily if it's done in a way that is emotionally shared, for lack of a better word. Yeah. And it's a lousy word, but
yeah. And for people with a technical background, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult because
we suck at it.
Well, yeah, because I know that if something doesn't work right, it's because I probably did something wrong or I didn't do it right. I'm willing to put up with some bumps in the road, so to speak, because I know that's kind of how technology works.
Right.
Whereas like, other people who aren't technologists or don't deal with technology every day, they just want it to work. They want to push the button, they want to click the mouse and just have everything work.
Which gets back to that point I made earlier about it should just work.
Yeah. And
that's great. But here's the challenge. If I go to a doctor and, the doctor says, you really, you're overweight, you got to do something about this. The odds of them having a good conversation, I'm going to do something, is not based on listen, you fat slob. Actually, in my case, it would, because I enjoy that kind of conversation. But the same thing for every other profession where we go and we take whatever our product is, whether it's the car, the home, the whatever, we're basically going to have that relationship with whoever the service provider is. And that service provider is essentially going to judge us on how we dealt with that particular scenario, that particular situation. And part of the challenge is that technologists, and one thing about us, we love to be right. We do not care if we are understood in the slightest. We love to be right. And the problem is that in the MSP, we have to have a satisfaction because the whole thing is recurring revenue.
Yeah.
The whole thing, and actually that does us a little bit of a disservice because it's actually monthly recurring relationship. Okay?
That makes sense.
And I just came up with that, and yeah. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, though, because if you don't have the relationship on a monthly basis recurring, you ain't going to get the revenue.
Yeah.
because the next person who comes in and says, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your IT services, they're strictly going to say cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to talk about. Can you do it cheaper than these other guys? Because I really don't like them that much.
So I think you just came up with the name for this podcast. So monthly recurring relationship. I think it's going to be a good title.
There you go. There you go. And I think it could be for marital counsel. No, wait a minute. That might not work well.
It could work in other ways, yes.
It well could.
So, all that is just awesome information. A couple other quick things here from a technology perspective. You talked a lot about it, a little bit about it earlier, and it's always changing. But when you kind of look out into the horizon, what technologies are you most excited about, or the things are up and coming?
So here's the thing. If you look at the parallels, and again, I don't want to say I'm a big picture guy, but I kind of like to look at things from different perspectives and try to see. Information technology is incredibly well named for what we do. However, there's an emphasis. When I first started, and you can even go back further, it was the technology that drove it. The technology as in how can we do things faster? How can we store more? How can we display bigger? All of that kind of fun stuff. And the things that we did, and I'm talking back from about 1980 to about 95 or so, everything was about doing everything that we used to do, but doing with a computer. So we did general ledger, we did accounts payable, receivable, financial, inventory, drafting, all of that kind of stuff. But it was all about just simply replicating what humans did manually and then doing it faster, stronger, whatever. So our technology skills were all about just implementing, just doing these really actually dull, boring information side of things, but with this really cool, exciting technology, okay? For about the past 15, 20 years, it's been blurred. Now we're starting to do stuff with the information. Now we're starting to take the data and say, well, we could actually not only do a receivables, but we could actually forecast. We could actually take a look at inventories and handle inventories in a much more creative way. We could distribute stuff. We can actually take that transformation of data, turning it into information, and we can do it so that customers can know what they need as opposed to us selling it. So now we see information and technology blurring together, and the technology really hasn't changed that much.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, for the standpoint of a computer is still a computer. A network is still a network. Okay, the connectivity has changed dramatically with the invention of the internet and all of the connectivities and all of that kind of fun stuff. But we're really doing kind of the same thing, with a couple of exceptions. We'll get to that. Now we're entering into the information age, the true information age, where now it's going to be what we do with the data. That's where the excitement's going to come from. The technology is going to take a back seat to it. And so an example that I use is we'll call it working out, but I was at a gym and I was doing laps, and I do say plural, I got around more than once, and I was listening on my Android device, and I was listening to the radio or doing something, I don't remember, and I got a pop-up device about 2 rounds around. Do I want to buy a pedometer? Think about that for a second. In order for that to happen, the GPS or something had to be indicating what my motion was, that it was oval. There had to be enough AI to make assumptions as to that means I must be doing something that, and then a relationship with a manufacturer and all of that. This happened like 3 years ago. Yeah. But all of that was all about information. The technology was already there, but somebody came up with these really cool and creative ideas, which kind of gets back the whole expert systems, AI, all of that kind of thing. But I think, and part of this is based because the people who are entering the workforce, effectively entering the workforce, meaning they're not the junior techs anymore, they grew up on this. Yeah. Which means they're not fettered by all of the old farts' preconceived notions about how we did things and all that. And if you look at actually the development of the steam engine, for the first generation, after the steam engine really started taking off, the first generation just did the way they used to do things, except instead of an ox, they used a steam engine. Yeah. It wasn't until the next generation came around that they said, no, let's kick some ass. Pardon my French. So I think the same thing is going to happen now. So over the next generation, you're going to start seeing, you think things have changed fast. You ain't seen nothing yet. I think you're going to see much more creative and innovative ways of using the information from a business and personal and the blurring thereof and all of that kind of thing. Now, as an MSP, where do I think the next things are going? I think there's basically 3 categories. Category number 1, and I'm not sure which one's going to take precedence, and it's probably going to be a blur of them. I really do think co-managed IT is going to take, and not because I'm writing a book, but that's actually why I wrote the book, is to get ahead of it and become, quote unquote, a content leader. But I think as everything ends up hybrid, okay, and that should include the support model.
Yeah.
So that's one. The second one, of course, is Internet of Things. The whole concept that you're going to have more and more non-standard devices within a network, and how MSPs are going to work on managing those. And in Northeast Ohio, we've got some really cool IoT initiatives to help manufacturing companies. Yeah. And I'm literally sitting in the corner at some of these meetings going, okay, I still haven't quite gotten my head around how to best approach that without becoming deeply in with some of the IoT manufacturers.
Yeah.
So but that's the second. And the third is expert systems. You know, when you get down to it, the expert systems, which are essentially the devices that can make, quote unquote, informed decisions based on data and all of that kind of fun stuff. I think those are the 3 things that are going to be huge in terms of IT impact for our customers. Exactly how they're going to manifest themselves. Obviously, commits makes sense. And actually IoT makes some amount of sense. How we get our feet through into that door, I'm not sure. The expert systems, I still haven't quite figured out how the MSP model is going to work on that. But
yeah, but you know, I would think that IoT kind of feeds into expert systems, because you know, all these sensors and devices, you know,
something's got to happen.
They're all generating all this data, and now you've got to have something that figures out what to do with all that data.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, how to process it, and you know, hey, if we tweak this on the production line, you know, by 1 degree or 1 centimeter, you know, it's going to increase production by 20 units a day, you know, and hey, that's profit, right?
Right.
So those types of things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But wherever the data resides, there's the expert system.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. So what about what worries you? What are you most concerned about in terms of
From my standpoint, commoditization.
Okay.
That's the easy one. It's essentially, we will never be a commodity. Or excuse me, I have to make sure that we never become a commodity, because we will, as soon as the word commodity can be used to describe what you do, it's a price war.
Yeah.
And we will not win a price war, period. So that is the thing. And you look at that from either a delivery of service, a customer engagement, however you do it, but however you specialize that relationship between you and the customer organization.
Okay, great. So we are now towards the end. We're at our rapid fire round. So I've got a list of 6 questions.
Okay, I am 60 years old. I don't rapid anything anymore than I'm willing to talk about. Okay, it's real simple,
real easy.
All right.
So, okay, are you ready?
No, go ahead.
Apple or Android?
Android.
Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Windows.
Amazon, Azure, or some other cloud service?
Azure.
Okay. Local backups, cloud, or both?
Both.
Okay. Should you always virtualize?
Yes.
Okay. And finally, which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Calling Amish people. I will say vendor cold calls. And, you know, but it's funny, because from a marketing standpoint, you know, we get all these. I'll make it personal. I get all this crap in the mail. I get all these calls, all of that kind of thing. It's like, oh God, why don't they leave me alone? When I send stuff out and I make calls, then it's hey, I'm sending you this wonderful stuff, and I'm calling you with these great values. What's wrong with you? And it's amazing how fast the brain will
send you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Now, read those questions back to me, and I'll give you a really quick reason why. I gave you the answers.
Okay, so Apple or Android?
Apple or Android. The reason being is because one of the things that I always talk about with Apple is Apple has all of their devices, their mantra and all that is we will come up with one way of doing anything. And it's going to be a brilliant way. It's going to be whatever, but it's going to be very focused. So they're great for end users from that standpoint. But if you're looking for any flexibility or to do anything truly creative or integrated, you got to go with the Android.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too.
Yep.
So on Mac, Linux, or Windows?
I want to make a living. I mean, honestly, it's one of those where if you're going to be repetitious in terms of however you create your delivery model and deliver and all that kind of fun stuff, it's very hard to do that in a Linux environment because it can be so bloody different all over the place. And from a Mac standpoint, you're going to be so hard. Now, there are some people who do that, but it's going to be very hard to do that. So you're left with Windows, right or wrong.
Amazon or Azure? You said Azure.
Azure, honestly, I'm a Microsoft shop. If I can have one stack in terms of our being able to provide, I'm going to go with that stack. That said, there are some things, for example, Amazon has a better handle on desktop virtualization at this point for the SMB than Microsoft does. I expect that to change. Okay.
And then on backups, you said, local, cloud, or both. You said both, obviously.
Because I have a brain.
Okay. And then on virtualization, I actually, you answered it differently than I thought you would, because I said, should you always virtualize? And you said yes.
Yes.
But, as you mentioned previously, when we were talking about technology and, what the hot thing is, it, maybe not always makes sense to virtualize. So.
Well, and you get into that whole, are there times where things don't, you basically say, we always do it this way. Well, of course we don't always do it this way with the exception of hopefully respiration. But from a virtualization standpoint, you always have to get into what happens if the unexpected occurs. And if something bad happens, the recovery options and the flexibility of recovery for a virtual server is so much higher than a natural, a physical server. That to me is the issue. Okay. But one of the things I always tell this for customers as well, is the worst time to learn CPR is when you're having a heart attack.
Yes.
Okay. And so it's important to basically have the discussion of here's what our options are should this circumstance happen. And so we can basically say, and I'll exaggerate here or make a rough guess. If we go to a virtual environment for a single server, that may increase the hardware requirements by 5 to 10%.
Yeah. Okay.
But let me tell you about this flexibility. And this gets back to this is the CEO conversation. CEO, for me to give you a 5 to 10% increase in cost, but we have this increased flexibility, which will decrease your downtime should something bad happen. Is that worth that additional investment? If no, not a problem, whatever. I will say I told you so, but I will do it very, very politely.
And then, you kind of explained about vendor cold calls and printer support. And, because you didn't do break fix, you probably don't have to do a whole lot of printer support.
Well, did I mention I have employees?
Well, yeah.
We're actually getting to the point. We actually started something new in December. We call them cuties, quarterly client training. And what we do now is every quarter we open this up to, and this is our first client-only event. Where we basically say, come on in, and we have access to a meeting room in our building when they allow us to go upstairs. And we will spend all day going through all of the portals and all of the technologies that we use.
Okay.
And it's basically a way for us to, again, we're transparent. We want to show you here you have access to this. And it's also a way for us to do some upselling by saying, you don't have this add-on. We're just going to spend 10 minutes, and my technicians all do the presentation. So they get a nice feel for who they've talked to over the phone or have only seen once in a while. Yeah. And we have T-shirts. So you got to have T-shirts for these special events. And we had the 5 things I learned at the QCT on the back of the T-shirt. And number 5 was, don't ever let Coppedge touch your computer. Now, and we put that in there for a couple of reasons. I insisted. I said the other reason, I let the text come up with the other reasons. Yeah. And we had a Star Trek theme, so some of the reasons were really weird. But I said this is the 5th one I want in there for a couple of reasons. One, it's funny. Okay. The second is I really want people to stop calling me for the tech calls because I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
And I also really, I'm not as good at it anymore. If you give me a printer support call, which I'm rounding back to your original point,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. I know what to do with a vendor cold call. So.
Got it. Wow. So, a lot of great information. Anything before we go? Any last words of wisdom that you want to pass on before we go?
Have fun. I mean, you have to. It's contagious, but it's one where 90% of the problems that you face, if you're the owner of an MSP, a high percentage, if not a majority of the people on the planet would kill for your problems.
Yeah.
And just be cool and have fun. The other thing is, if anybody is interested in learning more about the Commit stuff, feel free to contact me. We share what we do and all that kind of fun silliness.
Great. Awesome. Bob, it has been a lot of fun today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on here, and I think people are really going to enjoy this episode. So
cool. It was fun doing it. Thanks.
All right.